it's me, Brooks. Thank you for joining me today on Heal This. And today we're going to talk about some things that might surprise you. You've heard it before that really great things come in small packages. And so we're going to talk to Gina Palmeri today. She is this really awesome person who totally surprises me all the time. She is a business owner and a fantastic friend. And she's really down for trying anything in the healing arts, which I absolutely love. And so, hi, Gina.
Hi, Brooks. Thank you so much. I love that introduction. That was amazing. I
So
feel the
cool.
same way about you, and I'm so grateful for you and our friendship.
Yeah, thank you. Well, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do? And then we'll just go from there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm Gina. I am a photographer here in Nashville. I also have a tour business called Photo Walk Nashville, where we take guests around the city taking their pictures in front of all the famous murals. It's a lot of fun. And then I'm also a relationship anxiety coach. So I help men and women conquer their fear of getting married and help them heal their relationship anxiety. And so that's through my business called Engaged and Anxious.
Wow. See, she surprised me today because I didn't know that part. I knew there was something in the works, but I didn't know it had happened. So that's awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thanks. It's been a whirlwind, but it's been a lot of fun. I feel like I do a lot of different things, but I love that. Like I just love kind of having like different aspects of, businesses and, never like to have the same day be the same. So it keeps it interesting.
It does. It does. I agree with you. I also enjoy that. I enjoy being able to use a full spectrum of what I feel like my skills and gifts are so that I don't feel burnt out or overworked in one area. It's nice to pick up something else and to be able to use it. So that's awesome. And if
Yeah.
you haven't seen it yet, you have to go check out any of her social media about the Nashville Photo Walk because it's super fun. And I know a lot of people, especially when they're coming to visit or have something coming up, go and do the tour. And it's a really great thing to have those memories.
Yeah, it's been so much fun. I started my photo walk business back in 2019, and that was after I was working in the tourism industry for a while, and I had started a photography business as well. And I thought, oh, I could kind of put these two things together. And it really has
Yeah.
been so incredible just meeting people from all around the world. Connecting is my favorite part of the experience, just connecting with people and making them feel beautiful, confident, and just have fun. I mean, it's such a fun job. And just to be that light for someone during their trip is my favorite thing.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I bet you've also learned a lot about yourself in that process.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, my one of my favorite one of my favorite coaches, her name is Gina DeVee. She always says the best personal development work you can do is starting a business. So that is like definitely I relate to that 100%. Like starting a business has definitely been one of the biggest ways I've grown in my life and also has made me have to heal a lot of parts of myself because there's so many things that
Hmm.
come up when you start a business, so many like blocks and limiting beliefs and, you know, just like roadblocks that come up and you're like, why isn't this working? And you're like, oh, actually, I need to do some inner work in order to understand why, things aren't happening the way they're supposed to be happening and all the mindset work and everything like that. So, definitely just starting a business, owning a business that has been so healing because it almost like forces you to heal.
So true. It's so true. You're like, I'm just going to set up these things. I'm going to just put these, social media into practice, or I'm going to learn a new skill. And then all of a sudden, you're just digging into yourself and all of the things that you thought you knew about yourself. And I appreciate that. So, Gina and I were talking, and I was telling her that I had been developing this class on intuition. And she said, "Okay, when is it?" And I was like, "Whoa, calm down." She said, "Set a date. I want to go. I want to know when it is." I thought, "Wow, she's really telling me what to do here." And but I can't tell you how much I appreciate that, because we all know that I would have just kept going on creating the class instead of providing the class unless someone challenged me to do it. So that was one of the very first times that I was like, "Dang, Gina." She 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 was challenging me, and it really showed me something about her and that how strong she is, because I've watched her develop something from afar, and now she's developing something new. So how does that go for you? What's the process? What do you do on a daily basis to kind of keep in check with yourself?
Yeah, and I'm just laughing because I love to just like do something like right away whenever like I have an idea. And so for you, I'm like, yeah, like you had this great idea. I'm like, let's do it. Like 100%. Like I'm just one of those people that's like, let's hit the ground running. Let's just put it out there. Like done is better than perfect type situations. And that's kind of what I did with my business. I
Mhm.
really didn't think too much about, any business that I started. I kind of just started putting it out there and was like, you know what?
Right.
I I know that this is, this can help people. This will be, a fun experience. And I'm just someone who is like, you know what? If we're going to do it, now is the time. What are we waiting for? Let's, let's get this show on the road.
Yeah, exactly. And for all of us who like to really put a lot of time into something almost next to procrastination, that was a really great, kick in the butt for me. So I appreciate that perspective. And
Of,
um,
of course,
yeah,
I will
so okay,
always
so
give you the kick in
let's
the
talk.
butt that you need.
Yeah, she's also the one that, after talking to her several times about emotions and how when I'm doing a reading on someone, um, I'm like, "There's stuff stuck in people's bodies." And she's like, "The emotion code. Have you heard about this?" And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, no." And so then I did. And then I'm like, "Okay, I'm doing this." And so thank you. When I have done
Yeah.
a reading, or when I've done readings on Gina, I'm just always blown away, because she is this huge, brilliant soul. And there's so many things about her that when I very first met her, I thought, "Oh my gosh, she's very petite and very quiet, but there's so much in there." And so it really taught me a lesson to really listen on more of a soul level of what's happening. And the just a powerhouse, boss in there. And so taking it from feeling like maybe you're smaller and your voice is smaller, and but you're trying to do these humongous things. So what has that been like for you?
Yeah, yeah. And you have been such a help too, just helping me see that in myself because, I have always been told that I'm small. And that just led to me thinking that I'm small and like that limiting belief of like, oh, I'm small. So like I can't do big things. And that's something that I've really had to work on and, realize, okay, yeah, I feel small, but that doesn't mean that I am small. And just you being able to see that in me has been so special. And I really appreciate that. And every time you say that, I'm still like a little bit in disbelief because I'm like, oh no, like I couldn't, like I'm just like little Gina. Like that's what everyone used to call me, which is like horrible because it really could like mess with you as a person. And
Right.
I mean, sometimes I'm like just still blown away because like okay, I'm 5'1". I'm not, there's people that are shorter than me. It's not like I really see myself as like a small person, but everyone else has always made comments on it. And so I think from a
Mm-hmm.
young age that just really got instilled as this belief of like, oh, like no, I couldn't ever do that. Like, oh, that's like too big for me to do. Like, and finding my voice, like always kind of like not speaking up for
Mhm.
myself, or, just thinking that I couldn't do these things. And so that was definitely something that I had to heal when I starting my businesses, and realizing, okay, wait a minute, I can do big things. And sure, it might be hard at first to like transition into that version of myself, but and it's still something that I struggle with today. It's still like I'm on my journey of, feeling
Mhm.
big, and I think that will always be maybe a theme in my life, but it's something that I'm very actively aware of and like working through. So whenever, I visit you, and we have these conversations, it always is just like a great reminder of like, oh yeah, wait a minute. No, I don't have to like subscribe to this narrative that I've been told my whole life, or that I felt for my whole life. It's like, oh, actually, wait a minute. I can be big, and that is
Mhm.
so empowering to me.
Yes. And sometimes the biggest things that we do, no one really knows about. We are challenging ourselves to really change our habits or to learn something new. And for everyone else, they're kind of like, yeah, not a big deal. But for us, it's a huge win. And so it's that stepping stone to the next thing. And I've definitely seen that in you over this short amount of time, too.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And you're right. It is like the little things, like even little things that most people would just seem as normal. It's like for someone who hasn't had that, like, big sense of self in themselves, it is a big deal. And I mean, I always like joke, this is like the silliest example, but like I would always order like the smallest version of things. So like even if it's like a drink, like a coffee, like something like for food, I would always order like I'll take a small. And there was one day where I was like, you know what? Like I really wish I had more coffee. And I was like, why don't I ever order like a large coffee? And it was just like little things like that where I'm like, oh, I can order a large coffee. Like I can be big. I don't need the smallest version of this. Like, I don't
Yes.
need to drive a small car. I can drive a big car. Like it's just like these little things where most people that's no big deal, but for me it's like, oh no, that's
Right.
like healing in a way, stepping into my bigness.
Yes. I think that phrase is probably one of the most common phrases that I say is I can't somehow, whatever, I can't, whatever. And I am aware of it now because I'm extremely aware of my thoughts. Um, but I definitely think that that's where it starts is really paying attention to, like you said, the story we're telling ourselves about whatever it is, money, success, love, um, who we actually are. And so just taking that time to really sit down and listen to what it is that we're telling ourselves over and over again. Were you surprised by some of the things that you were telling yourself?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why I love doing limiting belief work so much, because it's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that I actually thought this about myself. Like, this isn't true, but this is the narrative that I've been playing on repeat in my subconscious mind. And no wonder why I feel this way, or no wonder why this has happened to me. Like, it's all
Mm-hmm.
about like the awareness, I think. And so once I was able to start being really curious and really starting to question why I make the decisions I make, that has opened up a whole other world for me.
Absolutely. Yes. I do think it starts with the block. We usually like run into a block or we feel physically ill somewhere or in pain. And then we are looking for the help. And on Heal This, I'm all about multidimensional help, multidimensional healing. So something that's physical, but also spiritual. And then if we're doing talk therapy or we're coaching or whatever it is so it's like you're hitting it from all the sides. And usually then something kind of pings and you're like, aha, you have that moment where you realize, oh, this pain is connected to something else. Did you have a big aha moment?
I think you're so on point of like there's so many facets to healing. Like I don't know if I had like one aha moment, but I think it was more so
Mm-hmm.
like just being on this journey and starting to prioritize my self-care and my self-growth and my healing. I think maybe the biggest thing that had an impact on me is emotion code. And that's why I love to, share that with others because it really has had such an amazing impact on my life, especially with my anxiety. And so I
Yes.
wouldn't say it was like one specific emotion that like needed to be cleared. I think after clearing emotion after emotion for a couple months, it was like, oh wow, I'm really starting to see this change in these emotions must have just been really weighing me down and like causing this anxiety. And, it could have been from last week, it could have been from 20 years ago. But that has definitely been a game
Right.
changer for me of just being able to clear that out. And, there's so many other things that have helped too. It's almost just like everything is a piece of a puzzle and they all kind of go together.
Mm-hmm.
So hard to like pinpoint one exact moment, but I feel like just like the combination of all the things I've been doing has really led me to heal so much and be a really different person of my like version of myself than I was before.
Yes. Yeah. And it's tangible. I can definitely feel it with you. And I feel it with myself
Thank you.
too. Doing the emotion code has changed so much for me. In times when I would have very quickly reacted to something, it's interesting. It kind of comes in, and then it's almost like I'm looking around going, huh, how do we feel about this? I'm not really sure. Whereas before, I would have right away gone to that response of feeling attacked or feeling bad about myself. And now I kind of just view it as okay, I'm going to assess this for a little bit and then I'm going to have a reaction, you know? So that definitely has changed a lot about my healing process.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. With emotion code, I think that for me, I've always dealt with anxiety before, like generalized anxiety my whole life. And it really just took so much of the base edge off, I want to say, with like normal things that would
Mm-hmm.
have made me have like a visceral reaction of anxiety, like weren't there
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And I think a lot of that was like held in my stomach and, just from past experiences. And even now it's like, okay, if I'm feeling anxious about something, let me just check in. Let me see, is there anything that I need to clear out? And sometimes it's like night and day difference where the rest of the days goes a completely
Mm-hmm.
different direction just because I was able to clear it out. So it's really been incredible.
Yeah, I totally agree. I can feel it. It's amazing. So, do you have a spiritual practice? Is there something that you do on a daily basis? And I usually ask everyone just to kind of get an idea of what their thoughts are on that. I totally understand going to church. I'm just more interested in knowing specifically what you do personally to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I grew up Catholic. I consider myself a Catholic, but I also really rely on like my personal spiritual connection to God as well, even more so. So, what really
Mm-hmm.
helps me connect is just having like an ongoing dialogue throughout the day. I'm very much just like, hey, I could use some help with this. Thanks, appreciate it. Like it's very
Mm-hmm.
casual in that way. And a lot of times when I feel most connected, it's when I'm meditating. And I started meditating back in, I think it was 2018 when I really started like my spiritual, like, or like healing journey. And that completely changed my
Mm-hmm.
life. It really helped me feel so much better in so many ways and just really helped me feel more present and connected. And so that's something that I still try to do today is just really like tune in. I pray a lot and, I think cultivating that relationship with God is an everyday practice. I don't think it's, something that you're ever
Hmm.
going to be done with. It's just kind of like, this is my lifestyle. And
Right.
I know, especially with my anxiety too, that's helped me so much. Just, surrender and trust and know that I don't have to do my life alone. That has been a game changer for me. And so I know when I talk to like my coaching clients too, sometimes people wrestle with religion. Of course, I think everyone has at some point in their life has wrestled with it.
Hmm.
And for me, growing up Catholic, that's definitely more, it's an intense religion sometimes. And sometimes people are like, this is too much.
Hmm.
And I get it. I totally understand that. So I'm like, listen, you don't like religion is different than having a spiritual practice. And I think, your relationship with God, source, universe, whatever you want to call it, I think as long as you have some sort of relationship that works for you, that's great. And I don't try to like push anything on anybody. I just try to tell people what has worked for me and what has really helped me and like give me peace of mind. And for me, that's just what's been working. So yeah, I'm definitely like very much, I want to say I always want to be more connected, but I try to be as connected as I can.
Yeah. It's really difficult too to be in that, 5D meditative state connected and then come back to being in this physical form of, okay, I got to pay bills. It's like they're two separate things, but not, So, um,
Yeah. Yep.
also you were touching on yes, the religious part. And I know I deal with that too, because I feel like if you were brought up in a specific religion, which I have nothing bad to say about anything right now, but if you have those teachings and when you come to a point in your life where you're kind of like, yeah, that doesn't really work for me anymore. That doesn't really fit with who I am or the direction I'm going in. A lot of times I'll see people just put the whole thing down. And I'm like, don't put the whole thing down. Like, there is something else out there bigger than us. And I know that I kind of went to a point where I was like, okay, so what does that look like for me? And where do I feel comfortable? And it's all about love, I think. So I kind of just started there. And I don't know what else. Do you tell people something specific about what to pick up so they just don't put it all down? If that makes sense.
Yeah, I love what you just said about like don't put the whole thing down because I think a lot of people get really discouraged by their religion and I totally understand that. I think for me like religion has been a really good base, has been a really good foundation. And then it's like up to me
Sure.
to then make that work for like how, I need that to work for me personally. So, yeah, I think you know, meditation is just such a good place to start. It's definitely something where anyone can do it and you can have your own relationship and just be open. I think that's the other thing. Like a lot of people have been so closed off because of their, experience with religion. And that causes them to just block off, you know, everything. But once you open yourself up to that love, to that guidance and support, like it's incredible what can happen. I couldn't imagine my life without that connection. So I think I just always like to say, there's no pressure either way. Just try to have like your own relationship with God. Like just try to
Hmm.
do what works best for you. And, that will look different for anyone else. But I think that is so important. And it doesn't have to be something that's so like strict and it has to be in this
Rigid.
format and like you
Yep.
do it, rigid.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I kind of think of it a little bit along the lines of being a parent to four different kids, and we all have a different relationship, but I'm here, I'm available. They reach out, I reach out, we kind of go back and forth, and our relationship with each one looks different. I love them all so much. So I kind of think that's how I approached God is, or, heavenly parents or source or divine energy, however we want to call it, is kind of, I am having my own personal relationship, and how does that fit into my life, and how can I make space to, because as every time I connect, I only feel love, and I don't feel shamed for not coming sooner, or listening sooner. It's more just having this relationship of, yeah, I have lots of answers for you, or I can provide you with messages. Where you been? And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. So it's kind of usually where it goes.
Yeah.
Um,
I love that so much. I love that analogy of
uh,
like the parent thing. That is so awesome. I think that's so spot on of like, hey, I'm here. Like I love you no matter what. And I think one thing that I find that people struggle with is the shame and the guilt. And
mhm,
those are, we know those are like two of the lowest vibrational emotions. And it's
mhm,
like any any part of that is bringing you down energetically. And in my mind,
mhm.
I am like, yes, God is love. Like if we just focus on love and forgiveness and acceptance and all of these things, like that's what I want to be focusing on, because that's a higher vibrational, it's a higher
Yes.
vibration. It's just going to make you feel better in every single way. So I think that's what I've been trying to definitely subscribe to and help others of like, hey, you don't need to feel shamed. You can forgive yourself for all of these things that you've been going through. Cause I know a lot of times, like when I work with anxiety clients, it's like they feel so much shame. And I know I have felt that way in the past too, of like, oh, I shouldn't be feeling like this. I must be a
Mhm.
horrible person. And I don't think that's what God intends. I think he's very much like, I forgive you no matter what. I love you. And I think that we can extend
Right.
that same grace to ourselves.
Yes. We basically are denying ourselves progress when we don't decide to let go of shame and forgive ourselves or whatever. I see it all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I've I find regret in people's bodies a lot. So that likes to hide in there. Yeah. Regret
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
resentment. So they like to hide in people's bodies, and that vibration is basically calling in the same thing over and over again. So I just find that really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I think like shame, regret, resentment, I get unworthiness a lot when I do emotion code. It's like unworthiness
Mm-hmm.
all the time. It's like no matter how much I release it, it's like it's still, there's something still in there. And that just blows my mind of like how many times in my life has unworthiness been stuck in my body that now I need to release it. It's insane. It's so sad.
Yeah. And I think that comes back to the I can't, you know, because so having that thought of I can't, and then the emotion at the vibration of unworthy, kind of, I feel like they go hand in hand with each other. Okay, so whether you're working with clients or friends, where would you tell people to start their healing if you have any
Oh,
ideas?
that is that is such a loaded question, but I'm so excited for it
Yeah.
because when I get into conversations, I'm just like, oh, and you can do this, and then you can do this. And I don't mean to overwhelm people. And I have to like be careful where I'm like one thing at a time because all of these things I've done like over the span of
Yeah.
years. But one
Right.
some of my favorites, I guess, like let's start with some of my favorites. Definitely one thing that I'm just like, hey, this is like a baseline thing just to get started is a gratitude practice. And whenever I tell about gratitude
Mm-hmm.
practices to people, everyone's like, they roll their eyes and they're like, yeah, yeah, like I'm grateful for like, my life. And I'm like, no, 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 no. Like this is so much deeper. Like when I'm talking about a gratitude practice, I'm talking about like your whole mind is going to change. Like your mindset is going to be completely reprogrammed. And
Mm-hmm.
definitely like gratitude has changed my life. So back before I started my healing journey, I would definitely consider myself like a cynical person and very negative and like I don't know if you've ever watched the show Parks and Rec, but I would uh, compare myself to Aubrey Plaza, who plays April in the show. She's just very like
Mhm.
deadpan, like sarcastic, like just negative. And which is funny now because like I don't consider myself that at
Yeah.
all. But like there was
No.
a point where I was like, there was a
Yeah.
point where I was like that. And I
I
was
get it.
like, I don't want to live. Yeah, like I don't want to live this way anymore. And so I started completely rewiring my mindset from negative to positive. And I
Mhm.
did that with a very
Yep.
intentional gratitude practice where it goes so deep into like, not just like, okay, like I'm grateful for, my house and my car and my
Mhm.
dog, it's so specific where like you train your mind to start looking at every little thing in your life as a
Yep.
miracle. And once you start looking at it, things like that, you're like, oh my gosh, like my life's amazing. Like this is incredible. I can't believe
Mhm.
I almost had like a veil over my eyes. And then when you like lift the
Mhm.
veil, you're like, oh my gosh, my life's so amazing. And those small tweaks have made me just feel like just so much of a more positive person. And that helps raise your vibration too. I mean, that's one thing that can just get you out of like a fog of anxiety, a fog of depression, like just one little tweak every single day. And that can mean, writing down your gratitude practice in the morning and at night. But I take it so much further where I'm like, no, every single time that like you are present, you're looking around being like, oh my gosh, I can't believe like I get like this pen is amazing. Like this is the best pen and I'm so grateful for it. Like literally I tell people to like go in like that deep because you have to like otherwise it won't
I know.
work. Like I'm so intentional about like you've got
It's
to
so
make it
true.
so specific.
It's so true.
And yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's like I just think that's such a good like baseline thing that's easy to do. Like, hey, let's just at least start with a gratitude practice and then we'll go from there. And then I'm always, meditation. I'm such a fan of meditation that has helped me so much in my life and my
Yes.
being present, being less anxious. Like we all know meditation is so powerful. And then when I tell people, I'm like, have you tried meditation? They're like, oh yeah, I did it once. It didn't work. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's called a meditation practice. Like you have to practice it.
Practice.
Like
Yes.
it's an everyday
Yes.
thing. Yeah. And I'm always just like, download the Calm app.
Yes.
They have these amazing programs that will remind you every day to do your meditation. Like there's resources
Yes.
to help. But
Right.
I
Don't
mean,
don't just
it's so powerful.
if you've never meditated before, yeah, if you've never meditated before or you did once and it didn't work, don't just sit down somewhere and decide there you're going to meditate. Like do a guided meditation or go to a yoga studio where they provide meditation, or go to a specific place for meditation. Don't just decide you're going to sit down and be like, okay, I'm meditating right now. Is this meditating? Am I meditating yet? It doesn't work like that. But once
Yeah.
you practice it for a while, is this it? Am I doing it? But once you do it for a little while, you can start to understand the process because in most meditations, when guided meditation is happening, there's a process of kind of, bringing you down a little bit so that you're calm and then going through this process of releasing things or setting intentions, right? So I appreciate you saying that. And I know I'm a big meditation person, so it's good.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I think it's so funny, like you said, like, okay, am I meditating? 30 seconds goes by. Oh, nope, it's not working for me. I'm going to try something else. It's like, oh my goodness, you've got to practice
Yeah.
it. It's got to be a whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, like you said, like it's a good baseline. Like, let's get down to neutral in order to like start uncovering things. And that's what I help with like my anxiety coaching clients too, is like, we're so, in this heightened state where we just need to come back down to neutral and then we can start really getting into things. And that's when I like to start getting into the limiting belief work. That's something that I feel is so powerful, especially for, healing relationship anxiety. Is like, okay, most of the time we're not actually
Yes.
afraid of getting married to this person. It's more like a deeper fear that we're uncovering that's just manifesting as relationship
Hmm.
anxiety. So let's really like unpack this. Let's, get into those limiting beliefs about ourselves. I love to do inner child work. That has been really powerful for me, like uncovering, what our
Hmm.
inner child is trying to talk to us about. Um, I definitely love emotion code. I mean, that's something that I would love to do eventually and get certified and everything. Right now, I just kind of do it on myself, which has been really helpful. But I've done body code, I've
Hmm.
done belief code, and belief code is the newest one, and that's been really, really
Yeah.
interesting too, to really uncover those limiting
I
beliefs about
definitely.
ourselves and then release them.
Mhm. Yeah, the three of those together, I mean, they change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, it's
for
so
sure.
powerful. It's incredible. So yeah, I was, I'm constantly like, have you tried emotion code? Here's the emotion code book. Like just try it. Just see what happens.
Hmm.
So I love to recommend that to people too. And I mean, I could go on and on about all the other healing things that I've tried that have been really fun. But those are the main ones that I would suggest just to get started.
Here's 10 things. Get started on them. Uh,
I
yeah, I
know.
love it.
Sorry.
But
See,
it's
that's why I'm
true.
like, and we
But
could
it's
do this.
no, no, it's true though. And when I was talking to someone else about this too, we talked about it being layers, right? And you peel back that first layer, and maybe that is the layer of you not feeling well, because that's usually what really pushes us, is when we have the resistance. There is something's not working, or our body's not feeling good, or a relationship is failing or something. And so that really pushes us to go, what is going on? And we take that first layer off, and then in underneath that is when we see, oh boy, there's thoughts here and emotions and maybe some trauma and this energy that I don't even know where it's coming from. Why is it here? And it's producing this anxiety, or some other pain in the body. So it's like, it's layers, right? And that's why it's important, when you decide you're going to open this can of worms, just know that it's not going to be one thing that's going to fix it. There's multiple things that we apply to heal this, right? And sometimes that's a physical thing through body work, or that's emotions or thoughts, or like you said, inner child work, past life regression, let's talk about, our limiting beliefs. So it's all of those things together. And then we really discover who we really are. And
Yeah.
we're not that we're not that person that was in high school that got bullied.
Yeah. First of all, also what's helped me so much is you and doing, readings and coaching and, Reiki and all the things with you. That's been incredible too. So I highly recommend that to start on your healing journey
Thank
too,
you.
is find someone like Brooks or go to Brooks and, work with her because she's
Thanks.
amazing. Um,
Thank you.
but going back
Mhm.
to like not feeling well. So it's actually funny, when I was thinking about kind of how I started my healing journey, I originally got into all of this because I was having really bad hormone imbalance issues. And so that's when I
Yeah.
started actually, doing the healing work. And, at first I was like, okay, I can clean up my diet and like that'll help. And then I uncovered all of these other ways to heal. And then through that, I not only was able to like heal my hormone imbalance issues, but I started businesses and I like started being this like confident version of myself. And like it was just this ripple effect that was so powerful of just,
Yes.
like you said, like one thing just kind of like starts a ripple effect for other things for the healing. So I'm
Yes.
really happy that, these things have happened. And with the relationship anxiety too, I mean, I was also going through that at the same time. And I was like, okay, I know something's off here. I need to heal this in myself. And I was able to do that
Mhm.
and really work through like my hidden fears and those, I had like a very severe lack of self trust in myself. And I was having a lot of trouble making decisions for myself. And so I was able to heal that. And then I was like, you know what? I want to share this with other people. And I think that's where, Engaged and Anxious was born of just like, if I can pass this along to help someone else, then I'm happy to. And even though it's been, hard to talk about things like that because that's like your personal relationship and that's your personal struggles of anxiety, it's been so worth it because I've had people from all over the world reach out and say, just you sharing about your story has helped me so tremendously. And that makes it all worth it. So I just love being able to be that resource for people.
I love that. And I think when we have a challenge and we are working through our challenge and we get to the other side of it, the other side of the pain, the other side of all of the just in my gut feeling sad or stuck, and you get to the other side of it and you start learning and you get that momentum and you start going and you're healing it, right? Then you do want to share it with other people. You do want to say, there is hope. There is a way, and everybody's way is different, and everybody's journey is different. And that's definitely why I wanted to start the podcast. I'm a verbal processor. I talk through things, and I also listen and receive them through listening versus writing and reading. And so I thought just going to do this because I know there's a lot of people who have had something and then they got to the other side and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I feel so much better." And not only do I feel better, but I'm progressing. And so it makes all the difference when you are going to see someone who's been through what you've been through, and then you're like, no, 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 let me help somehow. So I love that you're doing that and you're sharing it.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I'm a big believer in the law of attraction, and your vibe is your tribe, so if you're vibrating at a frequency of something, right, whatever the loudest frequency is, I am very aware that I am now noticing all the other things that are vibrating at that frequency too. And I notice that if I'm researching something or if I'm working on something on my own self, then that definitely starts coming in more often. I start seeing it more often and I'm like, okay, we're healing this together. We're working through this together because it will just start coming in the office, or my friends will be, having a parallel situation talking about it. So whatever, but it is there. And I do think that the more aware we are of what's actually happening, you know, the universe is constantly showing us a mirror, right? We're constantly looking into, oh, this is me. I need to work on. This opportunity is here for me so that I can heal this part instead of just brushing over it and coming back to it again later because it'll just come back.
Yeah, no, I love what you said about the mirror. That's so true. I do think that sometimes. And sometimes when I'm like giving advice to somebody, I'm like, it's so easy to be like, here's the advice. And then you're like, you know what? I should probably take that advice too.
Yeah, totally. So, how has your healing journey and you healing, how has it helped you be a better business owner, be a better wife? how has the healing helped you to do that?
So many ways. Something that I always like to talk about, like especially in like relationships, is it allowed me to understand my operating system, how I operate, what triggers me, why I make the decisions how I do, why I value this. It's really had me learn so much about myself and understand so much about myself, and also love myself more and like myself. And
Mm-hmm.
that in turn has helped my relationships. It's helped my
Mm-hmm.
confidence. It's helped my self worth, my self esteem. It's really helped me step into my power, I think, is one of the main things, too, of just realizing, going back to like the smallness thing, like I'm not small. I am capable. I am so strong. I am someone who can do these things. I am someone who can do hard things, someone who can do big things. And really seeing myself in a different light has been a game changer for me. And also just releasing things that no longer served me, because, like, going back to the limiting beliefs
Mm-hmm.
of, I was holding on to this idea of myself that just wasn't true. And it's just something that I thought was true, or that someone told me once 10 years ago that was true, but it wasn't. And I think just letting that
Right.
go, reprogramming, my mind, my mindset has been just the biggest thing that's been changed through all of this, which has been, I think, the most important thing that had to be changed. So, I think it's all for a good reason
Absolutely.
of, you go
Yes.
through these things. Yeah. And it just pushes you to have to heal them. And in the end, it's all for your highest good, even though it's hard at the time. It's for your highest good at the end of the day. And I'm happy that I decided to go on this path. And, you know, I'm grateful for, I guess, the hard times I went through, because if I didn't heal them at the time, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Right. And you wouldn't be where you are today either because you'd still be stuck. And I think that's really
Mhm.
important to understand why we need to heal. We can't make big changes or move forward, have progression, totally level up as a human if we don't heal. And so I think those are really important parts that you brought up. You also said, um, what I love is that I just did an episode about the three most common blocks that come into my office. And, three is letting go, two is boundaries, and one is loving yourself. And everything you just said were those three things. It's like you have to let go of the old stuff. Then you have to set boundaries and say, okay, I let go. Now here's the boundary. And the boundary means this is what I think of myself. I no longer think of myself the way you thought or think of me. I'm changing that, and then loving yourself, really knowing who you are, really being your true authentic self, stepping into that power, and then just owning it, living with no regret because there's no regret when you're really yourself. So, um, and how do you exercise and practice owning your power? How do you do that?
You always tell me to own it, and I love that, because it's something that I still struggle with, like just owning the power. I love when you say. I think for me, owning my power is like just not, I don't want to say caring what other people thinks, but just like being so secure in yourself, in the way of like, I trust myself, I love myself, like I forgive myself. And a lot of those things come back to like full circle. Sometimes we have to release that shame. Sometimes we have to release some of these things that are prohibiting us from feeling that way about ourselves. And it's so sad, because most people that I work with, whenever I ask them, like, scale of 1 to 10, I love myself, I rarely get above a 5 when I ask people that. And it's the saddest thing. And I'm like, how can we
Right.
expect someone else to love us if we don't love ourselves? And, we are the most important person in our lives. Like, we need to have a solid foundation and
Mhm.
relationship with ourselves. And so I think owning it means just being really in love with yourself, being really secure with yourself, being really
Yeah.
in tune with yourself too. And just, again, like knowing yourself, knowing how you operate, knowing why you do the things that you do and why. And once you
Mhm.
feel more comfortable in yourself, then I think that just comes naturally.
Right. It goes back to that practice thing. It's like you don't just wake up one day and you're like, "I love myself," and then you do. You're like at a 10. It's that whole practice.
Yeah.
And um and also practicing it when things are great and things are not so great. It's like it's super easy to be like, it's a good day and I love myself. And then as soon as it gets hard, because that is the opportunity to really practice self love, is when it's not going great, So, and really, again, and that goes back to the gratitude stuff, right? It's like, okay, stopping, having the pause. I'm not going to subscribe to the old ways of thinking. This is where I go into that gratitude journal and I grab those things, like you said when you were talking about the gratitude journal, it made me think about a part on my own journey when I was at my son's school and I was washing my hands at the sink, and right above the sink, it said, "She loved life and it loved her right back." And I thought, wow, what if it was just that simple? And so I just decided to go with that mantra for a really long time. I love life and it loves me right back. And then I started doing that with everything. I love my work and my work just loves me right back. I love my kids and they love me right back. And it kind of reminded me of when you picked up the pen and said, "I'm just so grateful for this pen." It's like I just started applying it to everything. It's like I I love my struggle and it's going to love me right back. It's kind of like it. I had this moment where I'm kind of like, I can't just find my power in all the great times. I got to find it in the struggle too, and in the times where it's not so great. And it sounds like you're doing that.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I love that so much. I love that phrase. I need to write that down somewhere because that's amazing. She loved life and life loved her right back. It's so true. And yeah, even in the hard times, one of the best pieces of advice I ever got was enjoy the good times, but also enjoy the bad times. And I think to a lot of
Mhm.
people, they're like, how do you enjoy the bad times? And it's a mindset shift. It really is. It's seeing
It
joy
is.
even when things are really hard, and finding joy in the little things and prioritizing joy. That's something that I've been working on a lot this past year, is prioritizing joy and not feeling
Yes,
selfish for doing something that's fun just for me. And one of those things
that's
that I
great.
did, yeah, one thing that I did just for joy this past year was I wrote a book for fun, like just a novel. And it was the most joyful experience for me because I was in my creative flow and it was just like pure bliss. Like every time I sat down, it was pure bliss. And I don't think I
Ah,
really allowed
pure
myself
bliss.
to do
That's like one of
that.
the highest vibrations ever.
Yes, yes, exactly. And it's like we don't allow ourselves to just do things for the sole reason of joy. And I think a lot of times people are like, I don't know
Right.
what my purpose is. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I'm like, what if you just make decisions based on if it's going to bring you joy today? And people are like,
Yes,
what? That I
absolutely.
can't do that.
What are you
That's like,
talking
oh, I can't
about?
just like prioritize joy like that. No, I couldn't.
Like
And
a
I'm like,
bad word.
but what if you it's literally like a bad word, like joy? Me? No,
What?
I couldn't do that. I couldn't just like take time
Most
out
people
of
don't
my
even know what
day
that
and do
feels
something
like.
that's fun. It's so
Right.
sad. It's so sad though. Like that to
Yeah.
me is so sad. And so
Yeah.
I think that's like something that I've been trying to really push is we can do things for the pure reason of it being fun and it's joyful. And even if things like are hard right now, you can still find something that's going to bring you joy and like just sit in that for a minute. And that's okay. It's allowed.
Yeah,
It's allowed.
it's allowed. I really love how you just said, just for fun, I wrote a novel and it was super fun.
It was. And it's so funny because it's
Mm,
like
you're so funny.
but I know people
Mm,
laugh. People laugh. But to me it was creating something. And I do think that I'm a creative and a lot of times I don't
you are?
use those abilities. And going back to like the joy thing, I always say, okay, what do you like to do when you were a kid? And for me, that was creating things. I was always
Yes.
crafting or, just doing
Mhm.
something creative. And to me, that was like feeding my inner child. Like writing that book was feeding my inner child. It was so much fun because I was creating.
And
And
healing
when
it too
people
at the same
struggle with
time.
joy, yep, definitely. And so when people are like, well, I don't even know like what I like to do, that that always makes me feel sad, first of all, but I also understand. It's like, okay, well, what did you like to do when you were younger? And,
Yes.
what don't like can you do that now? And sometimes that's talking to your inner child, like, hey mom, we haven't played in forever. Hey, we haven't like gone dancing. We haven't just done something fun in a while. And your inner child will tell you what you need to do, what will bring you joy.
Yes. That's one of the first places I tell people to start when they say, I don't know who my true authentic self is. Everything starts with understanding who your true authentic self is and who am I to my core, not the roles or the labels or the degrees that or certifications or whatever that we put on ourselves. It's like to my core, who am I? And a lot of times we knew who we were when we were small because nobody told us not to do those things yet. And then we kind of grow up and we have stuff that happens to us. And so we start stuffing some of that. But yes, um, what brings you joy? What lights you up? That's who you are. And if you can take that and practice that and live in that vibration during the day, every single day for a little while, oh man, you're going to make leaps and bounds of progress.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like to say that I have just been trying to get back to factory settings. Like I want to get back to like
Yes,
who God made me to be at my core and
that's
before
right.
all of the weight of the world and everyone else's opinions and all of the things, clouded my judgment. Who am I at factory settings? And I think you have been so helpful in helping me find that too. And when you're saying, like, I just see you being so big and like such a creator and such, a powerful person, I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like I am that way. And I forgot, or like, I just, it was so long ago that I just want
Yes,
to get back to that person. And it blows my mind. And like, no, that can't be me, but it is. And just trying to get back to that baseline person has been, I think, what I've been trying to do with all this healing too.
yes. And I think those first couple times that we step into our power, it feels weird. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I actually even believe myself yet. But then once you practice it more and more, I remember one day that I said, I do this. This is what I do. It was like everyone had been telling me, you do this. This is what you do. And I was kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about yet. And then just through readings of other people and working with other people. And then all of a sudden, I'm kind of like, I do this. But it felt weird at first.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I know. It's definitely like an identity shift of, oh, I thought I was this and
Hmm.
now I'm this. Okay, okay, interesting. And like when
Hmm.
you keep telling me like I'm a healer, I'm still just like, no, that can't
Hmm.
be me. And but people keep telling me that, and it is just like a mindset identity shift. It's very weird.
This healing journey that we're all on. Once you decide you're going to peel back the layers, it's going to be a little while before you settle into owning your power and truly loving yourself, because you're allowing yourself to really be who you were supposed to be and who you are in this life. And once you do that, I think bliss, complete joy, absolute pure love, and a feeling that you've never experienced before is available to you. It's available to everyone. And then we have the ability to use our gifts and our skills to help other people along their journey. Wouldn't that be amazing if everyone subscribed to that and made the shift and raised their vibration and healed this and decided we were all going to use our gifts and talents to help each other heal?
That'd be the goal. Yeah, I mean, 100%. That I definitely think that would be best for everyone. Let's do it. Let's all just agree
Let's
to
do
do
it.
that.
I know. Okay, let's do it. I'm with you. So, well, how do people find you? Where should we go if we want to do the Nashville Photo Walk, or if we need some help with coaching? Where do we find Gina?
Yeah, definitely. So, you can find us online, photowalknashville.com, or on Instagram, TikTok, Photo Walk Nashville. And then my personal Instagram is Gina Co Photography. That's just going to be like my personal things there. And then for my coaching business, it is Instagram engaged and anxious, and then engagedyandanxious.com. And I have a couple of really cool resources, including a guidebook and a webinar. And then also I do one-on-one coaching as well with that. So if anyone is feeling anxious about transitioning into marriage, I'm happy to help.
Yay! Oh my gosh, you're doing it. I'm so proud of you. It's awesome.
I'm doing it. Thank you.
You're doing it.
Thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. You have
Well,
helped me
thank
so
you.
much. So I really appreciate you, Brooks.
Thank you. Well, I really appreciate your time. Thank you for sharing all of the things that you did today. And I will see you soon.
Yes, yes. No, this was pure joy. It was pure bliss. So I really
For
appreciate
me
this
too.
time with you
Hmm.
too.
For sure. All right. I will talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Thanks, Brooks. Bye.